There have been many criticisms of the San Francisco 49ers play in the Super Bowl that ultimately wound up losing the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. However, Brock Purdy hasn't been one of those. And obviously, we know he's been a polarizing topic, arguably the most polarizing player in the NFL last season, but he played a good game and he had a good season and he did great things in his first full year as a starter coming off a UCL surgery that had him rehabbing all summer, all the way through training camp, and he turned in a MVP caliber season. Now, he didn't win the MVP, but he did finish fourth in voting, which is still remarkable, all things considered. So I think one of the things to take away from this Super Bowl was Brock wasn't the problem, and he hasn't been. He's been a great player for the San Francisco 49ers, and he will continue to be as the 49ers move forward with him at quarterback. So obviously, there have been so many discussions around him, whether it's Cam Newton or whatever, but RG3 has been a player who has put a ton of respect on Brock Purdy's name. He kind of recaps it all, the kind of season that he had when talking to former defensive player Jason McCourty. And he goes as far as saying that Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in the NFL last season. Take a listen to RG3 on his podcast explain why Brock Purdy was the best quarterback in the NFL last season.
So much conversations had about Brock Purdy. And from a defensive perspective, I thought he played really well. Some of those passes in tight windows and what he was able to do. I know watching you throughout your career, dynamic player, could make anything happen at any moment. When you hear, and I know you've probably talked about it, the game manager versus the game changer, is there a difference of a guy that just runs the system as is versus a guy that can say, all right, this is a system, but that's the system and this is me? How I mesh them together is what makes me such a difference maker out there on the football field.
Yeah, so that is a whoopsie-doo of a question, my man. And that's why you're one of the best in the industry at what you do, because the bottom line for me is Brock Purdy, when you come away from that game, there's no way you come away from that game and you say, oh, yeah, he's just a game manager, right? Mahomes goes down the field at the end of regulation, kicks a field goal to tie to send it into overtime, I believe. Well, when Purdy gets it back, he takes them down. They kick a field goal to go in the lead. And then obviously Mahomes and them score a touchdown. Game's over. But there wasn't any moment in the game where you said to yourself, oh, this guy can't compete at this level. There wasn't any moment in the season in totality where you said, oh, Brock Purdy just can't get it done. Did he have a bad game against the Ravens? Yeah, he had a bad game against the Ravens. Did he have a couple other games where he was a little off in the middle of the year? Yeah, when they lost those 3 games in a row. But when I look at the way people break down Brock Purdy, I don't think it really has anything to do with Brock Purdy. I think it has more so to do with how they feel about themselves and how they wish they had that opportunity that he has been blessed with the weapons around him. But when we look at it from a big picture standpoint, most quarterbacks have guys and they're surrounded with extreme talent when they win. It just so happens that because Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant and was the last pick in the draft, people are very slow to accept the fact that he was the best quarterback in the NFL this year. And that's just by the numbers. I mean, you're talking about first in QBR, first in passer rating, first in touchdown percentage, first in EPA per play. You know, the list goes on and on of what Brock Purdy was able to accomplish. And it wasn't just the scheme. I've heard people say, oh, he's always throwing to wide open people. Well, I think he was first in the NFL in tight window throws. So if he's always throwing to wide open people, why is he first in the NFL in tight window throws?
So true.
And that completion percentage. So when I come back to it at the end of the day, I look at Brock Purdy and I say the truth is Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the galaxy. Head over heels. He's way more talented. He's, in my opinion, the second greatest quarterback in NFL history behind Tom Brady. And I don't think there's a discussion about that anymore. But for Brock Purdy, he's now put himself in a category of a guy that is so much better for the 49ers and so much better than Jimmy Garoppolo was. Because going to the Super Bowl, I don't know if you knew this, but Garoppolo threw for 208 yards in their 2 playoff games heading to the Super Bowl.
Raheem Mostert and boys.
right? He had, I think, 1 touchdown and a pick, and Brock Purdy threw for 519 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and had 65 yards rushing. So it's like there's a different level to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of what Brock Purdy has done. I played in that system. I know what it takes to play in that system, and I believe that what makes Brock a game, I just say he's a creator, because this whole game manager, game changer thing isn't new, right? Our guy Cam, I got a lot of respect for Cam and his career. He's not the first person that's ever said that. Like they've been talking about this for generations, right? It's been forever. It just, he brought it back up and now everyone's talking about it again. So I do think that Brock Purdy is a game changer. I do think that Brock Purdy is a creator, because when I actually watch the tape and study him, I see how he's not just doing it with, hey, they schemed it open, throw it to the guy. He's manipulating the defense with his eyes. He's making plays with his feet inside and outside of the pocket. And to me, when I watch the tape and I see the plays that he's making, he's a perfect match for Kyle Shanahan. And I've said it before, like when I was there in Washington with Kyle, there were some plays that were made that weren't in accordance with the playbook. But if I had been able to stay healthy, I think that I would have evolved into a player that could make the off-schedule play, but also make the plays from within the pocket. And yeah, Brock Purdy probably isn't as dynamic, and I mean probably with all due respect, outside the pocket as I was, but he is so dynamic within the scheme, and he gives Kyle Shanahan the ability to kind of call a play and not be afraid of what's going to happen.
Well said.
Right? He calls the play. If it's there, he's going to hit it. If it's not there, he's going to create something and make a play for us and not put us in harm's way. No turnovers. And Kyle said it himself. Let me see. His quote was, "I thought Brock was unbelievable. It was one of the most impressive seasons I've been around for a football player and a quarterback. He was just a stud through it all." Like, I think that says it all. Brock Purdy is for sure. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I stand 10 toes down on that. And anyone who's, kind of attaching things to his name that really shouldn't be attached to his name, I think they're just doing that for clicks. And I don't like that, like negativity for clicks. What are you doing that for? A check? Like, I just don't like when guys do that. But that's my opinion on Brock Purdy.
I think RG3 is 100% on point. And one of the reasons why I love that it's coming from RG3, and like he said, he's played in Shanahan's scheme. He knows Shanahan. He knows what the scheme requires. And he knows and can contextualize what Brock Purdy is doing. And one of the things that, he said that I think really stands out that people have a hard time with is Brock Purdy is dynamic within the pocket. He's dynamic within the scheme, and he's so good at executing the scheme. He doesn't need to escape and create and do a lot of different things because he operates the scheme so well, and he's able to do a lot of awesome things from within the pocket. And again, we look at these big time quarterbacks and we think of them scrambling out of the pocket, running for 50 yards downfield, throwing, 70 yards downfield opposite side. And we're like, wow. And rightfully so. But it's like that Brock is still doing a lot of wow things. Just people don't pay it as much as attention because it's within structure, it's within the scheme. And then when he makes plays outside of structure, they're like, well. So the bottom line is the 49ers have a quarterback, and they have Brock Purdy for one more year on his rookie deal. And so they have an opportunity to really go all in this year, whether that's bringing in a big time free agent, extending, paying guys that need to get paid. They have one more season where they can really push their chips into the center, take advantage of the rookie pay scale, not being able to extend Brock Purdy until after this season and go all in. So I think the 49ers are in a good spot. I know it's going to be challenging, and I know it's going to be difficult to kind of get re-energized and regroup and get back after it again, but the window is still open. So that is exciting, and the 49ers have an opportunity to go and get after it. Let me know what you guys think about what RG3 had to say. I'll drop the link to the full interview in the description. McCourty also gives some phenomenal insight and what he's seen from Brock Purdy as well. And you can check that out in the link in the description. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.